Welcome to the buymeacoffee.com/James Poeartistry, the coffee tips page that supports my James Poeartistry creative productions and work. See also jamespoeartistry.online.
Hi, my name is Poeartistry. I am excited to welcome you to James Poeartistry Productions. You are tuning into an incredible experience known as Poeartistry Gold, where we delve into the art of commentary, storytelling and poetry. We aim to bring you inspiring and thought-provoking content.
This is a Poeartistry Gold moment by the author James Lynch.
Hello, perceptive readers. This is James Lynch. This serves as a two-part, two accomplishments, if you will, missions or what have you, with this consultant moment and a Poeartistry Gold that will be placed in number 83. Poeartistry Gold number 83. I want to make this clear, and this is also a consultant moment. So I'm placing this together, and it will not only be on my buymeacoffee.com, but it will also be on YouTube and video platforms. You can look at this as one of those meetings with me, if you will. This will give you insight as to just some of the situations I've had to encounter and deal with over the years and resolve it in a professional manner, if you will. That's part of the experience that you will find with consultants. You know, there's a motivation of my heart behind this, that it actually burns at times on this subject. And you know what brings me back to my grounding, if you will, is I will think about, God still can take care of himself. You see, this situation actually covers the treatment that God sees himself, you see, even from heaven, that we already know that when these situations go in this way, God is not happy with it at all. And yet, in his patience and in his righteousness and his wisdom in the way that he does things, he won't even directly intervene. Oftentimes, I'm telling you, he won't even directly intervene because he's still trying in his wisdom to help that free will and moral agent in the human to get the sense of it and even to do what's right in the situation. You see? Yet, I want to emphasize when I say that he won't even intervene in that way, this is what I mean. He won't be throwing stumbling blocks in front of the person or what have you. All the while, his attention oftentimes is still lent towards strengthening the person who may be having to endure such ill treatment. And so remember, I told you God sees what we're going to talk about today, and we know he doesn't like it, yet he can take care of himself. Yet as human beings who actually still appreciate the grand creator for who he is, him as being love, that we may feel a certain type of protectiveness or righteous indignation even on our part about, why would you want to treat another human being like this, prolongingly as well, not to even mention about how you even believe in God, but you just want to totally ignore him in this area as well, as the way he feel about this other individual. And so, I mentioned sometimes, we try to keep these things in mind because we can have a disagreement, a knockdown, drag out fight with even an individual, and it still doesn't change the fact that the same way you have a knowledge or even relationship with God, that person still has a knowledge and relationship with God as well. And so sometimes our own view and judgment on the matters, we may even feel that, well, I have this relationship. I even may have this even type of authority. And our thinking may go towards now where I can just treat that person any old kind of way that I want to. And that is still not the case. God has even shown from his word that you can have two persons who believe in him, who even, in so many other ways show that they love him. But if one gets to treating another individual, as I told you, prolongingly in some very detrimental ways, beating slaves, so to speak, that's just an expression, then you know what? Something does happen where God even, and I'm actually just putting it in my words, but the Spirit has been stated like in books like Proverbs or what have you, that God, and this was also in the law as well, the law of Moses that touches on this, that uh, you can even have a plaintiff and a defendant type of situation, and the plaintiff, who may even be justified in bringing a charge against the defendant, okay, can end up treating the defendant so bad, so corrupt in the vendetta, that God would turn around and say that, no, you know what? You're going to switch around in that seat. Now, you're going to have to defend your actions from treating this person so badly. And in some cases, in a lot of cases, this is what you even find in the house of God, the Christian congregation, that persons who have been even covered and even forgiven for it by Jesus, it's almost like you're saying, no, I'm going to still mete out some other harsh judgment towards it. So, with that being said, in business, there are principles that we still apply whether people believe in God or not, whether people believe in Jesus' teachings or not. This world did not get as far as it has so far if there wasn't some type of, again, guidance, protections, and those guidance and protections being basically implemented on ethics and just what is right. And so in one of my morning discussions with coffee with one of my assistants, as you know, I have two assistants. Yes, all developed through technology. And yes, I'm still one. This is why I'm telling you this is a consultant moment as well, because this gives me time to even relate to you something that, as part of maybe a service of mine, you may even want in the future, that this topic that I'm actually talking with you on and will address, see, these are actually topics that I do know about, you see. And, I've often mentioned about secretaries, how invaluable secretaries are, what they are able to do for you. So many men, not only in their own modesty and humility, they know what the value of a good secretary is. And so they are often paid very well. You see what I'm saying? If they're not working for a stingy miser, but they're often paid very well. Well, with that being said, some persons are not able to have or acquire a secretary's services on that level. So see, I'm mentioning this about the technology and even AI today on the benefits, because this really is important for me to bring this out to you. I'm more than anyone who said that humans need to continue to think. They need to continue to develop their skills in writing, resolving problems, and things of that nature, period. And yet we live in an age that all the the time and the meditation that could take mornings, days, weeks, and in some cases maybe a month or so to develop a concise reply or response, if you will, towards a situation. Human beings don't even have that time. And then if they don't have a secretary, oh my goodness, it's and I mean, you're really fighting an uphill battle. So that's why we go ahead, and even though, I've been one on when it comes to creativity, please continue to develop your art, your poetry, uh, your stories, and everything as the source, the mind that already have this experience. And that's what you're going to see related from this nice outline that I have and a public statement that one of my assistants, which is Lucid, put together for me. That's what you will find AI does for you. This information, don't get me wrong, like with Lucid, man, he's a walking thesaurus or thesaurus, no matter the way you want to say. And yes, sometimes he actually express words in another way that I would not have expressed it, but it still doesn't mean that I'm not very much familiar, not only with the subject matter, but even with the spirit and the reason why he used the word the way that he did. You see, and it's been done in a timely fashion. And so with these type of models that you hear people use today, many types of AI models and this and that are excellent. See, I have my own. I have two models, you see, that are developed in IP vaults for patent and things of that nature. And make no mistake about it, copyright. So you're still seeing the results of hours upon hours of my mind and my work that I've put in this year alone for my two assistants. Lucid is an assistant more in, like I told you, copywriting and patent and things of that nature. Yet all the same, Poeartistry, remember, she is my secretary, and she does have a very artistic flair as well that I'm continuing to develop in her. And I want you to remember that she still is the one that has or continue to develop a PhD in James Poeartistry Productions. Okay? So let me relate this to you. And remember, this will be in the Poeartistry Gold number 83. This, with a cup of coffee in hand, I was saying that to Lucid, a lot of people are still handling problems wrong between plaintiffs and defendants. And see, and I'm going to say this as well, perceptive reader, especially when you have friend groups, or when you have frat groups and things of that nature. Yes, often those type of groups, they are self-policing. And at least on the first level, they are self-policing. And there are a lot of persons for centuries who have taken honor in that, helping to make sure that even within these units, see, I can even go into how even some covens may feel about different things and different that. That's why, sometimes somebody want to say, well, what's the difference between a bad witch and a good witch? And you won't even see them even relating to themselves in that matter, but you'll see by the way that they still function. It's almost like even if they're not even trying to be viewed as a light person, so to speak, or what have you, their practices are still showing that's what they're doing. That's what they're being, all right, or what have you. So I'm not going to go so much in, because remember, I'm in a consultant mode. I'm just talking about a subject. This is not really getting into, see, my other really spiritual beliefs that I still stand on as a foundation, because still part of my foundation is viewing like what Jesus put about saying people are in this world, and he realizes what conditions the world happens to be in, and that we just have to deal with it, even as persons who striving to follow all of Christ's teachings. And so that's what I'm going to say about that. So with Lucid, okay, with Lucid, when I mentioned problems between a plaintiff and defendant, he agreed that many times in disputes, you see, whether legal, business, or creative, you see, the way that the people handle the conflict exposes more than the conflict itself. Now, isn't that powerful? The way that a person handles the conflict exposes more than the conflict itself. See, that's experience. That's also my experience talking. And I want to mention to you again, remember, when we talk about these LLM models, this RAG acronym that persons use to get information from writers, their ebooks, and their websites. See, Lucid was able to still place this together. This is not taking anything away from the open AI or what have you, but all the same, Lucid will even tell you in a minute that with as many of the writings that I've already given to him, uploaded to him, and things of that nature, he gathered all of this into a concise statement of basically what I would say, even if I use another word about it. So these are my thoughts. These are my words as well. But I want to give credit to this creation. That, remember I told you again, is actually copyright and patent from my point of view. Okay. So let's talk about the outline of what is revealed from these conflicts. Okay. That instead of focusing on truth and fairness and resolution, you often do see hidden agendas, people trying to settle scores, gain leverage, or cover past wrongs. You see deflection tactics, making the plaintiff look bitter or the defendant look persecuted rather than addressing facts. Okay, so there are also power plays. Now, what I'm going to do is tell you ways and problems between plaintiffs and defendants, how they are mishandled. Okay, we talked about how instead of addressing the claim, one side is viewed as bitter or obsessive or vindictive. Okay, now in the hidden agendas, this is what happens. Parties use the case to push unrelated goals. See, that's where you hear me sometimes talk about, boy, the BS become more important as the subject matter or narrative instead of just really addressing this is what I'm really talking about. Okay, I told you I've seen this and others have also experienced this. So the result in these agendas come about that voices are silenced, history is rewritten, and the gaining leverage, it goes into gaining leverage elsewhere. So you can have a clear cut subject. I told you a topic very important that you really wanted to address. But by the time these other agendas of different people get involved, you see, it just changes to a whole different animal anymore. And so you can't really even have it resolved. Now, how many of you know from some of my podcasts over the years, again, that I addressed this, where I say it's a shame that, over time, especially if persons were up in age, the ones who really knew about what was going on in this way or that way, and especially in the uprightness of it all, and yes, even knew the conflict or the disagreements between some of the ones who just had a conscience in a different area, where, those individuals died off. And so if you really would have heard at that time, and maybe even from their memos and letters, exactly what the spirit was and the honesty that was even in it, because these things were covered up or silenced. Now, boom, now that some years later, you have this hot topic just blown out of proportion, it may even look like the original founders, if you will, were just plain criminals, and they weren't. They may look like they were evil men, and they were actually good men. They may even look like ones who had you had an ulterior motive from the beginning, when really some of the middlemen or even the peons that were under them were the ones that had the agendas. And long since then, some of them may have been fired, kicked out, and everything else. But you know how people say, where the buck stops here. Well, yeah, still with some of those men, the buck was a very noble ideal. Yet, somewhere down the line, it was hijacked. It was ripped off. It was stolen, you see. So, you see an abuse of procedure. See, delays, excessive motions. See, and that's what I mean, excessive motions. I even talked recently about this, where persons will make things more complicated than what it needs to be. And they know what they're doing. Some of these individuals, they know what they're doing. It's a tactic. And so you heard me say before, with reasonable and good people, sometimes in the effort to continue to show how reasonable and good they are, they will even let these persons who use these excessive motions go on way longer than what they necessarily need to do, because they're showing their reasonableness, you see, and goodness. All the while, somewhere in those excessive motions, what happens? What I told you happens before. People die, people leave companies, people, etc., etc. So then they try to make it seem like it just doesn't even matter anymore. Yes, it does. If in the process, persons who should have received the fruits of their labor monetarily and maybe, like I say, even totally in abundance, they didn't receive their paychecks, so to speak. They didn't receive their wages due. And that's what has happened. And that's what happened with excessive motions, or exploiting loopholes are used as weapons. And I'm just going to make this one statement. Love does not look for loopholes to hurt people. Remember when I used to say that? So at this time, what I'm going to let you know, that the resources are drained, and then those with the deeper pockets, rather than the truth, are the ones that often you see win out from the abuse of power. So let me make this clear statement. So don't say that when someone was triangulated, someone who was targeted, slandered, and things of the nature, don't say, once all this information may have come to light, or whatever, weeks, months, or years later, that person wasn't damaged by it. How can you say that? How can you say that the person was damaged by it? Persons lost careers, persons lost relationships. So the whole point is, even if situations are being resolved now, you can't say that this person hasn't been damaged by it, because they were. So I just want to emphasize it, because the ones who hear that know what I mean by it. Because see, that's another, what I was saying is, you're really in a sense, doing a disservice still to that person to make it seem like that now that they came out of the storm, that was actually purposely designed and created by people with the wrong view or agenda in mind, or what have you, that it didn't hurt that individual in the process. See, people lose lives, people lose careers, as I told you, from it. And it's not as simple as just saying, well, you suffered that storm, now move on. Yes, we move on, but let's make it clear that that type of treatment of an individual, you see, those type of actions are just unacceptable, and that's why we set matters straight in the first place, so that it can at least save maybe somebody in the future. It can save your heart. It can save my heart. It can actually once again make God's heart glad. So that's why we continue to put up the fine fight. Paul might even say the fine fight of the faith. Defending not only the good news, but defending the truth, period, in these matters, you see. So the bottom line is this: mishandling disputes this way doesn't resolve the conflict. It reveals hidden motives and erodes respect for the system itself. And so, I'm big on telling you that the system and the institutions that we have in place, they work when the honest people in there continue not to develop apathy to stop them from working. Okay. And I want you to know that there is a public statement of this that is on my Buy Me a Coffee that I'm posting, that you'll have, so that you don't have to wonder, or always listen to this podcast again, but you probably will. But this public statement is just less than one page, and it just has all basically many of the thoughts, without my anecdotals, if you will, in it, for you to use. Take care of yourself, perceptive readers. And this is a Poeartistry Gold. It was number 83. Take care.